This is a video for those people who don't feel there are enough Shreddies in the world. More generally, if you want to get an insight into how to work with particles in After Effects, then you could also watch this. Okay, first of all I'm going to show you the kind of effect that I'm going to be working towards. So this is something I knocked up earlier. It's a very short video and I've worked this two ways. So I've got some green screen footage, haven't really done anything with it. First instance I think I put it behind the Shreddies clip, and the second I put it in front. With the first one where I put it behind, you'll actually notice that I've also made the Shreddies transparent, so I could either add an additional background to this scene. That's entirely up to you, but there's two variants of this. In hindsight, there's probably too many Shreddies, if you can contemplate such a thing, but nevertheless it's just to show the principle, and then I'm going to open up After Effects and then show you how it works. So without any further ado, let's just launch this. There we go. So just very short, 20 seconds or so. And the second version. So it's the same clip, and I could have layered it so I had the Shreddies both behind and in front, and I'd probably want to do that so I had less Shreddies so you could actually see what's going on. So the key thing to this is having a Shreddy, and then we can make lots of Shreddies once we have the original Shreddy. So what I've done, I've gone into Photoshop, found an image file of a Shreddy, and then just trimmed it so that it's got a transparent background, and this is going to be the basis from which I'm working. What I'll do is I'll drop this on the Moodle page so that if you want to work with Shreddies, if that's your bag, then by all means do so, but this is equally applicable to any other element that you want to work with. So without any further ado, let's launch After Effects. Okay, so let's create a new project, and first thing we can do is create a new composition. So I'll click here. Now depending on your output, you'll set these settings. So because I'm recording this, I'll keep it at 1080p. You can obviously set this to 4K or other kind of variations. So let's call this Shreddies 1. Okay, and I'm just going to make it 10 seconds here. You can set the duration of it. As I've probably mentioned previously, the After Effects is not really for doing feature length films. It's for doing kind of spot effects and working on smaller sections of that. So just 10 seconds, everything else is okay, so just click OK. And we'll be covering After Effects at the beginning of term 2, and I've already talked about it, but the interface timeline here, this is where your layers stack up, this is where your content is, and this is the preview window. Okay, so the first thing I need to do is to create a layer, and this is going to be a solid. It doesn't really matter what color it is because we're going to make it transparent. So we'll just go new solid here like this, light grey. Okay, make comp size by default, so it'll be the full screen there like that. Right, and I want to bring in my Shreddy, so I can go File, Import File, and that should be the WCAGE somewhere here. Here we go, teaching 2021. Wired WCAGE and Shreddy PNG. Okay, PNG files enable you to have transparent background, so it won't work with a JPEG. So save your file as PNG, and that'll be transparent. So we brought in our Shreddy. What I'm going to do is just drop this down here. Okay, I'm actually going to turn it off so we don't see that. don't need to, it just needs to reference it. So here's my solid, and what I'm going to do is use an effect in After Effects called CC Particle World. There are various particle systems. I think there's 3 in total, but Particle World is the most fully blown one. If you get into particles and want to work further with this, there are third-party add-ons. We do have access to track code, which I'm going to try and install on the machines, which is a more powerful version of this, but for the moment I'm going to work with the built-in version here. And as you can see, if I was to play this back now, this is the default setup, which is kind of fine if all you want to do is create a kind of sparkler effect, but this is the generic setup, so we've only got it 10 seconds. So if we go up here, you'll see effects controls for Particle World, and there are a whole raft of things that you can play around with to get the effect that you want. So if we the grid and guides simply gives you a basis if you want to work with an existing background plate, so you can put paths and guides and so on and so forth there, and we won't worry about too much of that. The birth rate is how many of these are generated, so if you increase the birth rate, there's more of them appear on screen. The longevity is the life of these, so they appear and then they fade out and die. The producer, it determines where this position is. So at the moment it's saying it's 0, 0, right in the middle of the frame, and it's got very limited radius. So if I were to bump up the radius here, you see suddenly now it's going to be emitting not just from that point, but from radius in that dimension. Let's also make it in that dimension, and we also do it in depth, so it will also bump up that way as well. So if I was to do this effect now, although it's just pseudo 3D, you can see that it's emanating from lots of different positions. I'll probably keep it in the center there like that for the moment. Now physics, explosive is what we're seeing at the moment. I think I set it for 12 for the example that you saw. So if I was to play this back now, there's that, or I can have twirly. I prefer twirly, yeah. Okay, velocity is the speed, so that's quite right. We might want to drop that down a bit. Okay, not sure about that, to be honest. Gravity is the fact that all these are dropping downwards, so if I was to set this to 0, now they're just going to get around like a swarm like that. So you might want to have gravity, you might want these things falling down the screen. It's still quite busy, isn't it? So I could reduce the, in fact the velocity is backwards, that's why, so let's have it there. And maybe not twirly, let's try vortex. Okay, this is very much a trial and error to get the effect that you want. Oh, that's nice. See, I'm not getting to the edge of the screen because the lifespan of these is so short. So if I bump this up, presumably they would travel further. I'm not sure what they are. They're kind of running out of steam. Maybe if I increase the radius, then I know they're covering the... There you go. Now there is a whole universe of these things. At the moment I've not imported, I'm not working with Shreddy at the moment because that is a texture and it takes a lot more bandwidth to kind of render that out. So I'm just working with these dots to get a sense of the way I want it to work. Next thing I want to do is actually bring in the particle. This is the point at which we're now going to see what it looks like with a Shreddy. So going in here to particle, line at the moment, so different options, stars, so you might want to some of these are quite and I can change the colour of these, so you can imagine how you get quite abstract nice sort of effects, and then you could keyframe the gravity or the velocity, all manner of things. I'm not going to go into any great detail here, but what we're going to be working with in this instance is a textured quad polygon. Okay, so I'm going to set that there like that. Now it's disappeared. That's because I actually need to tell it what texture I'm using, and it's looking for a layer on which that texture is found. So what I need to do is to go down to Shreddy. Okay, and now the magic starts to happen. Here we go, we got Shreddies. They're appearing and they're fading out again, because that's the longevity of these things. So let's make them live longer. Okay, so now if you look at an individual one, you'll notice it's staying on screen longer now. I haven't got really much of a sort of direction. If I was to increase the birth rate, there'd be more of them. There you go, overwhelmed with Shreddies. So this is a question of trial and error. You can of course keyframe these, so you could start off with a multitude of Shreddies and then fade them out, or you could slowly build them up from nothing, and they're rotating. I think I can probably, let's try. It really is a question of mucking around with these. I think resistance will reduce the amount of movement, so there's very little movement there, so I'd probably not want to do that. I don't know if I can go negative with that. No, I can't. Extra. No idea what that does. Okay, but I've got my essential effect here. Let's reduce the number of Shreddies we got in this, because there was rather too many in the example I gave earlier. So let's maybe have that. And obviously longevity means they stay on the screen longer. If I wanted them all to stay on the screen, I guess I'd have the longevity go up beyond the length of the clip itself, so they keep being born, so the number would increase over time. If that's what you want, that's absolutely fine. They are a bit passive now, aren't they, as Shreddies go, so let's make them a bit more, I guess the viscosity is the thing that's doing that. Shreddies drifting in space. As you can see, I could spend like 4 hours talking through the various things I'm discovering as I'm playing with this. But that's not really the intent of this. It's for you to find out the thing that works for what you're doing. I've got the Shreddies in now. I don't think direction axis is the way I want to go. Let's settle with that. Just have a few less on the screen. So birth rate, take that down there and decrease the longevity to maybe there. So I can see there Shreddies there like that, but I've got sufficient black there that I could see something through. And the effect of having them foreground and background, what I could do is do different, kind of slightly different variations of this, so they weren't exactly the same. What I did when I was testing it out was just copy them, put them either side of the layer with the green screen in. But if you did slightly different ones, then you could get a better notion of depth there. Okay, so if I'm quite happy with that, all that remains for me to do is to just export this. So let's go here and go File, Export, Add to Render Queue. And to maintain the transparent background, it's black at the moment, so in order to do that, I go here to Output Mode and choose Channels RGB and Alpha. Alpha is the transparent channel. It makes for a massive video file, so bear that in mind. It's probably best to do it on the machine you're going to finally work with. So the clip I did earlier, I think, it was like 7 or 8 gigabytes, ridiculous amount. Don't want audio with that, so I could just audio output off. That's all good. QuickTime is generally the thing I use this, so I can get the alpha. Okay, give it a name, so I could put it in the same folder. If Dropbox would take that, or shall I put? Have I got space on desktop? Let's try that. Okay, Shreddies 01 movie. It says iCloud storage is full. We'll give it a go. Okay, click render. Now it's working it out. As I say, it's for you to determine the particular look of that. Success. And now if I were to go to my desktop, yeah, I should hopefully find a Shreddies movie, and let's see if that came in. Okay, here we go. Right, because it's look, because it's waiting to upload it to the cloud. Is that going to take an absolute age? Can I play it back already? Right, okay. What I'm going to do is just launch Premiere and see if I can play it in that. I think that was the issue of got this cloud thing set up. It's causing. So heaven knows what that is. Just launch that, bring it in there, create a sequence. Okay, offline all that, offline all. I don't know what that is. Okay, file, import, desktop. Okay, new sequence. Let's go down here. This is irritating. New sequence from clip, bish bash, and then there we go. And just to show that that is, have we got anything else here I can? Haven't, probably not. Editing exercise. There we go. Let's just chuck a clip in there. Drama genre, stock. That's all sound. Must have some footage here. Asset kit too. Sorry, just bear with me. Stock video. Just a bit of this. Probably different resolution. Need to stick it on a video track. Like this. Yes, indeed. You see, it's you. Why would you have a rainy window with Shreddies over the top of it? No, you wouldn't. Of course you wouldn't. But you can see there's footage underneath, and we've got transparent background. So there's your Shreddies. There's a whole load of Shreddies. Wonderfulness there. Okay. Hopefully that's given you an inkling into how you might start using particles in After Effects.